The Infinity Stones have been found, and now we know who's holding them all, but the question is, who's going to collect them first? What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is an iRate review, where I go over a comic book, its story, its art, give you my impressions, and let you know whether it's something you should go back to the comic book shop for or not. Make sure you subscribe to get one of these every single week. The book that I want to talk about right now is Infinity Countdown #1. So we've had Adam Warlock Infinity Countdown #1, we've had Infinity Countdown Prime #1, and now we know where all the Infinity Stones are. However, we don't necessarily know what's going on. So this is the first real conflict that we're dealing with that is directly impacting the Infinity Stones and their possessors. So what has Jerry Duggan got in store for us? Let's dive in and see what we got. Now it's time for the main event. Infinity Countdown #1 starts what's going to be a major event, or at least a minor event, some kind of event for Marvel, which is going to hopefully refresh your understanding or your concept of events, especially considering the sour taste that was left by Secret Empire and Civil War II. We open up on Mike Deodato's art as somebody is making a request of a dwarf to forge something completely different, but we don't necessarily know who it is. Jump into the Nova Corps, where we actually see a pregnant Commander Bakian, whatever it is, holding off and taking care of the Raptors, which are going to be making their advancement on the Power Stone, which is being guarded by Drax. She makes the alarm call. Drax knows that there's incoming, and he's like, what are you talking about incoming? And then ultimately the Raptors start attacking the Power Stone. They're just like, holy shit, it's huge! They're not going to be able to take it away from there in the easy fashion that they were really hoping for, but if they can cut it and distribute it to the soldiers, they'd be able to take over the galaxy in a heartbeat. Of course, this isn't going to happen without a fight, as Drax kind of gets back into the saddle and starts whooping on people as the pregnant commander kind of comes in and says that, and is offering backup for the Guardian of the Galaxy. He needs some backup on his own, and the Guardians of the Galaxy, which are currently out there trying to destroy this infestation of Groot-like individuals in Telfarina, is a really interesting kind of duality for this story. So, Jerry Duggan pitched this as kind of a replacement for his Guardians of the Galaxy story, so the heavy prominence of Guardians of the Galaxy in the beginning of this event is pretty standard. It seems pretty basic. And what we have is Peter Quill, we've got Gamora, we've got all these individual pieces that are playing, and then we finally see that the Gardener is making his appearance, and there's a little bit of comic relief by Ant-Man accidentally seeing up his robe and getting his hoo-hoo dilly cha-cha notice, and he's just like, oh my god, he's not wearing any underwear. But the craziness of the Gardener and what he's doing to create this influence only sets Rocket up to be a little bit more chaotic, and as he blasts through one of these Groot-like creatures, this shrubbery, as he makes his way up to the Gardener, of course Rocket just stabs him in the face, but it doesn't really seem to faze him, and that's where we leave off and go back to Drax. Drax has been fighting off the fraternity of Raptors, tearing their wings from their bodies, from their suits, and the thing is, they're genetically encoded, their DNA encoded, so that way the technology won't work for Drax. No matter how hard he tries, he's not going to be able to fly with him. So what does he do? He grabs one by the neck and wraps his legs around the other one, so that way they fly him back up to the main ship. He jumps in through the kind of cockpit area and then starts to try and transmit. Again, DNA encoded technology, so there's no options for him to do this, but he's just super pissed, so he's just like, all right, crushes everything and then throws somebody through the wall, but there is somebody trying to communicate with him. It's Quinnen. So she is currently on the Nova Corps spaceship. She's trying to contact Drax because he's furious, he's angry, and then he implores her to try and contact the Nova Corps and bring about the reinforcements that he really needs, the Guardians of the Galaxy, the rest of the Nova Corps, but he still has to face down one individual, and that's Talonar. So Talonar and Drax start to go toe-to-toe, and he's expecting the Nova Corps to be jumping through as these portals open, but nope, it is the Chitauri. So the Warbringer of the Chitauri is got all these giant flying ships and everything like that. They're basically pissed at being under the boot of Thanos, who's just recently devastated their entire culture and civilization, so they're looking to take back the Power Stone, overthrow Thanos, and that's what's brought them there. The giant space worms are destroying ships left and right. There's so much going on. As things come crashing down, Drax walks out of the devastation of the fire as they try to hold their ground and prevent the assault from kind of taking them on. The Guardians are still being implored by the Nova Corps to come take care of the Power Stone, come provide reinforcements. However, they're not necessarily going to be able to do that due to the giant Scar, this giant Groot-like creature that's risen from the ashes. Of course, they need to focus on one person so that way they can take down this giant creature, and that's the Gardener. And the one member of the Guardians Guardians of the Galaxy that is going to really take him on is going to be Groot in his very small form, because Gamora hasn't really had any good chances with that. Star-Lord can't really do anything. So Nova just drives him into the ground, yelling surrender, and he's immediately just smacked out by these vines and roots. But it really comes down to Groot. Groot pounces on him and purges him from his poison, just growing all these things over him. And as he withered, he is rejuvenated by the gardener, a refreshed and restored gardener, somebody that's more for peace as an elder of the universe. And this shows the regrowing, the growth of Groot to the point where he's got full communication. He's being able to communicate more than he ever really was, and he is ready to smite his enemies with his friends. He hates the giant abomination, and he will be taking on Scar, getting ready to just destroy him. This is going to be quite the battle. However, this isn't the end of the book. The end of the book shows somebody, and they look kind of familiar, in the streets of Madripoor, headed towards a safe house, a giant X on the door, signaling to check her dead drop. She's going to the safe house, and obviously this is now Natasha Romanoff. The Black Widow is in this safe house. She's only been here with 2 other people. One is Captain America. One happens to be Wolverine, Logan. So they go into the bathroom where evidently the dead drop is, and Jerry Duggan leaves us a surprise in the toilet, which just happens to be the Space Stone with a small note, "N, take care of this," signed by Logan. And she is just, now we don't have Logan in the Infinity Countdown story. Now we have Black Widow, a person that was thought dead inside Secret Empire that has been coming back inside Tales of Suspense. And this is going to be a particularly interesting story. The intensity, I'm going to say this, the book is disappointing in one respect, simply because it's only dealing with the conflict of the Power Stone, and it's dealing with it on 2 fronts. It's not doing enough to kind of reinvest me inside Infinity Countdown. It feels like an oversized issue of Guardians of the Galaxy. Of course, with this kind of backup story, with Natasha now taking over control of the Space Stone, we are going to be seeing a couple different things that are going to be happening. However, if we're dealing with multiple stones inside one issue, it's probably going to become kind of convoluted, and it's not going to flow nearly as well as you would hope it would be. So the story it's pretty good. The art is complimentary when it comes to that, and overall the way that it portrays Drax, the way that it portrays the rest of the Guardians of the Galaxy is good. And then I love the twist at the end. It's a combination of funny, and it shows us the investment in the evolution of the actual story itself, but I can't help but feel a little bit disappointed when it comes to the overall scheme of this. I hope that issue number 2 really brings it up, and I don't want to necessarily rely on all the tie-ins like the Darkhawk books, the Captain Marvel book in order to get my information. I want the main story to happen in the main book. So I'm going to hold out judgment on the entirety of Infinity Countdown until I've read it, but it's losing a little bit of steam in my interest, but I want to know what you guys think too, so hit me up in the comments down below and we can start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.